your artistic process at this point is brought down to thanks to AI. Coming in here, taking the lasso tool, selecting a certain part, typing some prompt in here, and then waiting for AI to fill it for you to the boundary almost that every day I end up getting. No, please, no. This is not supposed to happen by itself. Okay, good evening. Is the camera a bit off? The pivot seemed a bit off. Okay, good evening. Welcome back to In the Khud. This is 27 June 2023, 6:59 p.m. Just a minute short of 7 o'clock. Today I did a bunch of stable diffusion into Photoshop generative fill stuff, if you will, and a lot of fun, a lot of things I've learned. And so this video is supposed to be a documentation of all that I have learned, so that I can revise it at a later point, and maybe you can learn something in the process as well. So diving right into my screen, you see Photoshop beta on my window. Photoshop beta important because in the stable version of Photoshop, the generative fill feature has not been yet implemented. The most impressive one so far is this one, right? The prompt, if I was to tell you the prompt, is exactly what I was given from the copy team. I just put that prompt into stable diffusion and see if I can try and show that how that works as well. And the thing that stable diffusion gave me in the very beginning is this image. So this is what I got from stable diffusion right off the bat. You see how the faces are messed up, even though I clicked restore, restore faces in it, but still these faces look like these are some different kind of humans. They don't look like the normal earth humans. And of course I needed to have a teacup in between because that's what the brand is, and not a campfire situation. So on this I've added layers of generative fill. So if I just go on opening unhiding these layers, you see I have done all of this to fix the faces. So from here we've gone to here, then here. So you see it is done in 2 steps. Firstly, here I've put what is the prompt? Human face with mountain cap. So you select the whole thing and say human face with mountain cap. And then second, here what I've done is selected that same part and then you hit generate with the prompt but nothing selected. So that is one thing that I've learned today primarily, is that if you want to just fill in a place like an advanced version of content aware but using AI, you use generative fill for it, but you don't give any prompt and just hit generate. This is not something I was aware of, and I will give credits to 3 YouTube tutorials that I saw that actually helped me understand all of this. So that was that. Then if I was to open the other layers, I think it's some of the this is a bit irritating. It just keeps floating. So you bring it down at the bottom and say your pin bar position so it doesn't move. Okay, now this was this lady that we're trying to fix. Then this uncle or auntie or whatever, I'm not very sure if it has fixed. I think it's better off without it. I think it was shut only in any case. This again, I'm not sure if it is fixing. I'm not gonna save this PSD because I don't know which layers were supposed to be on and which layers are supposed to be off. So it's basically like a lot of trial and error. Like your artistic process at this point is brought down to thanks to AI. Coming in here, taking the lasso tool, selecting a certain part, typing some prompt in here, and then waiting for AI to fill it for you. And that is actually very sad. I was trying to contemplate about it, like art and making art, and something as beautiful as this, putting this art piece together. If you look at it on the screen, look at the final product, looks so pleasing, like wow, the artist has put in a lot of effort into it. But no, that has been swept out for doing something like this. And again, my perspective with art and AI has not really changed. It is still like a good starting point, like a base template. On top of it you can do more things, but I am also a very big fan of doing things from scratch. Like this is cool because it's trendy and everything, but it's not very enjoyable as an artist, if you know what I mean. So then the bigger thing here was I had to do a bunch of prompts. Now again, you see here there's a teapot, and this is an important part. So I will open another version of this same thing where I have kept things a little non-destructive. So this, I think it's time to give credit now. There is this YouTube video that I watched. This video is by NUCLY Photoshop and Creative Design Training. Okay, and in this video, 5 secret tips for generative fill in Photoshop. Over here he explains how you can give, like for example, over here I wanted to replace this, the original image had this campfire, okay? If I was to just select the image, let me just find the image, and I will try and demonstrate this live as well. Just checking if OBS is fine. If I was to take the original image, okay, and okay, take my lasso tool, generative fill, and with the original image I was to type, let's say, teacup, okay, and hit generate. This will do something weird because it's not like magic where you do some lasso thing and it will just out of nowhere magically generate something, at least for me. Yeah, so you get something very weird here. I mean, it's like a good starting point, but it's nowhere near a teacup because from what I understand, Photoshop doesn't really have context for it. So you take an image of a teacup from online or wherever you can find it from, and then with this layer selected, if I take my lasso, it doesn't matter that it's not the layer is not selected, but this layer selected, if I lasso it, it might just not work, but I think it worked in my case. So let's see if it works again. And you say teacup, this should produce a different kind of result. So the last result that we got was very abstract, like some random stuff, but because now we have the teacup layer selected, at least according to that YouTube video, that tutorial, it should give the AI some form of context. Now it's added another human being for some reason behind, but yeah, this is what I'm trying to talk about. You compare this result, the one open at the very top, with, which was that one, this one, yeah, this is extremely abstract, don't know what it is, and you compare this with this one. Now we are getting close. Now it is taking context from that teacup that we selected and then doing things, so it's a little closer to where I want to be. And now it's about generating until you get to a point where it is more or less working, and then once you've reached that point, then you go about doing your regular Photoshop stuff, cleaning it up, changing colors and doing stuff like that. There's one very important thing that I have to also document. Again, this is doing some very weird things here. Let's assume that this is what we want. Now another important thing that I learned today, which for that the credit is to Photoshop training channel. It's one of my favorite channels of all time. It's this one,
and do the same thing
where I'm gonna let you watch what he explains in this video. But basically the entire premise is that you just don't want to lasso select something, because when you lasso select and generative fill on it, it is doing that with 100% intensity, which is why if you look at these images, these don't like blend in very well. And for example, what I will explain you is two different things. Let me take this, and over here just lasso this little part here, and let's just say, what could we want there, or maybe in the sky, let's say I lasso this much part here and I say airplane. Now again, we're lassoing it, so it should, like normally be at 100% intensity, and not there should not be by default any sort of blending happening by the AI, which is what we'll try to do next in our next pass. So yeah, it's done a pretty good job actually in putting it and blending it together. But this is how it looks, right? The image looks. Now the thing that Photoshop training channel, in that video he explains, let me just zoom out, and what I'm going to do is, you're going to see my keystrokes on the left side in case you're wondering. So I'm going to press Q, it takes us into select a quick mask mode, and you say control, okay, with background black. This is important, okay. By default your foreground will be white and background will be black, so with background black you say control backspace, that fills it completely with black, so it's completely black now. And then for foreground color, you want to come in here and say 50% white, which is gray. And then what you want to do is, with your brush, and the hardness also matters, because if it's like very very smooth, no hardness at all, then Photoshop won't even recognize it. But let me just paint a little bit here, okay. So now if I press Q, that will be the selection, and it will not show here because Photoshop doesn't show anything which is less than 50% intensity. So I'm going to come in here and again type in airplane and say generate, and we're going to try and see the difference between the two. Ideally the one which we've done second should blend in better with the environment behind. And it's not about the opacity, it's about the intensity of fill, which is determined by your brush, black, gray, white. Yeah, so exactly, this is what I'm talking about. You see that the blend over here as compared to over here, this is a lot more blending in. Now how do I explain? Like, to me it is very, very clear. Like, you see the lighting and everything is just mixing well together, whereas this here is as good as you've taken an image of, or like a PNG of a plane and just slapped it on here. So yeah, let me just generate it once more. Okay, this time we generated on that layer. So yeah, which is also nice because you get a before and after, I think. But anyway, I think I've put my point across. That was about Photoshop generative fill, and that same technique I've used. I'm not gonna save this. I'm gonna take you to this. The other one that I made, again the same logic here. The original image that I got from Stable Diffusion was this, and then I did a bunch of generative fill commands on it, the same exact same process to come till here. And then your Photoshop, like Photoshop basic stuff like hue, saturation, curves and curves to make this blue color. Although I figured out an easier way to change the color of things now. Just use a solid color and change its blending mode, but I don't know why I was doing hue, saturation, curves and curves. Anyway, so the other thing that I want to show is let's say a little bit of Stable Diffusion. I'm gonna see if it really works. So I want to point out a few things that I figured which are important to keep in mind when giving in these prompts, and I'll try and see if I can just run one of these prompts live. Group of people sitting in circles. No. Yeah, this is exactly what was given to me as like a concept. So I'm gonna come in here and paste it. Now importantly, what I figured is important to do is, one thing is here you want to use sampling method, not Euler A, but instead use DPM++ SD Icarus. This is something I'd use for deforum, and this seems to work better. Now over here I was getting this weird tiling kind of effect, which I don't want. Like if you just make 1080 here, or like 1000 by 1000, it won't work. What you want to do is you want to select this button here which says high res fix, and then this will give you an upscale factor of 2, which will make your final 1024, which is amazing. Okay, again it's made it Euler for some reason. And you want to select this button as well, restore faces. I mean, anyway you have to fix those faces like I showed you, but like as a good starting point, won't just make aliens or zombies out of the box. So if we click on generate, I didn't put a style here. Let's see what it generates anyway. So without any style, we get an image like this, which every time I have this Stable Diffusion thing generate anything for me, it is like, wow. I feel like, wow, something like this is being artificially generated. We've come in a very strange age, so to speak. And yeah, so because I've checked restore faces and there's high res fix as well, so it's upscaling the image, which is why it is taking a little longer than it normally does for one particular frame. But yeah, right off the bat you see that these faces are you have to like lasso select everything and then fix the face, because these are like not usable right off the bat. You won't be able to. One thing that I forgot is I have to put a style here. Let me just choose, what was I using? Professional scenic photographs. Yeah, that gives you that kind of look which I have got in my images, because this looks very realistic, and what we are trying to go for is something like this, more like a stylized look. Yeah, you see very easily you get this kind of a thing with text to image in Stable Diffusion. One thing that I also want to try is, before I end this video, if I want to try, I've seen people do this, is where they take an image and they make it go from like a square perspective into a landscape perspective, so that I can use it for my thumbnail of this particular video. We'll see if we can do that and that works. So yeah, here you see, because this is a little more stylized, I mean, restore faces gives you like a good starting point, but it's not like perfect. You have to go into generative fill and fix them manually. So I think I have roughly covered my process of making these statics here, like just as I said. Let me see if I can make this 16:9. 16:9 and then make it bigger. Okay. Yeah, so now basically what you want to do is you want to come in here and select this part and just hit generative fill and generate. So this should ideally just create more stuff on the right side. I mean, it's not as nice as it sounds. Sometimes it does, but most of the times it's like a lot of trial and error that has to go through. Pretty good. Can we increase the curves to be the whole? Oh man. Okay. Well, hello. This mask. How do you make the mask become a rectangle mask? I know how to do it in like After Effects or something, but and generate. This video has gotten to 17 minutes. I have to again edit this and rush to the gym. And the gym situation is getting pushed so much to the boundary almost that every day I end up getting. No, please, no. This is not supposed to happen by itself. Beautiful, shall we say that? This is gonna be the thumbnail of this image, of this video. Amazing, right? Yeah, for last things that I did, like if you see the color, I changed the color of the tea because they want a milk tea, obviously, and then I added these two smoke PNGs by myself. So a little compositing, a little bit of AI generative fill, a little bit of stable diffusion AI, a little bit of your own Photoshop core skills. Everything play a role in putting something like this together. And it's not just AI will take over everything. Like your core Photoshop skills are always going to be invaluable. Your core skills as a designer, like just being able to think through things, are always going to be valuable. So yeah, that's it for today's documentation. I hope you were able to get something out of it. Thanks so much for being in the khud. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.